Hey, my friend. Tonight we're diving into a historical tale. Imagine waking in a world where every breath is a gamble, every day a battle just to survive. No movies, no fairy tales, but the harsh reality of a small town in rural Pennsylvania, 1325. Welcome to medieval America, a place where life hangs as fragile as a winter breeze and death lurks in the shadows. Before we start, do me a small favor. Hit the like button if you find this worth your time and drop a comment sharing where you're watching from, what time it is there. I love feeling connected to folks joining this journey from all corners of the world. Now, turn off the lights, let the silence settle, and step with me into a distant past. You open your eyes, sprawled on a pile of moldy straw, hard as stone, reeking like a curse from the earth. This is your bed, a rancid mishmash crawling with bugs, chicken feathers, and rotted hay from last summer. No plush pillows, no soft cotton blankets, just a threadbare woolen cover, heavy with dust and sweat, smelling as if it housed a herd of goats. You try to sit up, but the biting cold slices your skin like a knife. A church bell tolls faintly from afar, sharp, rousing the town, not to greet the day, but to remind that time waits for no one. Your home, if you can call it that, is a creaky wooden hut on Lancaster's outskirts. No windows, no light, only wall cracks letting in gusts. The dirt floor, damp and muddy from last night's rain, or worse, slick with something your neighbor's pig left behind. In this cramped space, you're never alone. Your family, parents, siblings, maybe a distant cousin who never left, huddles together. Beside you, your mother snores, your father's grumbles, and the rustle of rats in the corner. Even the fleas on your skin are reluctant companions, biting until scratching becomes instinct. The hut's smell is another story. It's not just odor. It's a chaos realm. Stale ale breath from last night's supper, weeks-old sweat, and something acrid you hope is just damp earth. But deep down, you know it's not that simple. No scented candles, no air purifiers. Just raw truth. This is home, and you live with it. You're 22, but in this era, you're nearly old. Your bones creak like dry wood, knees ache as if crushed by stones. Standing is a challenge. The floor slick or filthy, your bare feet now part of this wretched ecosystem. Privacy? A foreign concept. No curtains, no partitions. Everyone sees, hears, smells each other. You wake amid gazes, breaths, family murmurs. This isn't a dream home. It's reality, where every moment reminds you you're never truly alone, whether you like it or not. And the scariest part? This is just the start of today. What lies ahead is far crueler. You leave the straw pile, body aching, but nature calls. Basic needs aren't private here. They're a risky adventure. Forget modern bathrooms with hot showers, soft toilet paper. Your toilet is a battered wooden bucket behind the hut, overflowing from last night when your brother overate spoiled turnips. The stench rises like a curse, forcing you to hold your breath, praying it's quick. Done. You face the next challenge. Disposing of the product. No sewers, no flush toilets. You lug the bucket to the dirt path outside and with a shout of, "Watch out below!" the medieval warning, you dump it. Lancaster's streets aren't for strolls. They're a foul river of human waste, animal dung, and unnameable liquids. If you live downtown, you might use the public latrine, sitting shoulder to shoulder with strangers, in open air with zero privacy. You try not to look, not to breathe, hoping no one strikes up a chat. Hygiene materials? Toilet paper is a lavish dream. Instead, you use straw, dry leaves, or, if lucky, an old rag. Sometimes you use nothing, explaining why handshakes aren't custom. Wealthier folk in Philadelphia might have a privy, a wall hole to a ditch. But even that's unsafe. Tales tell of thieves climbing through, turning a bathroom break into real danger. Each step on the muddy path is a trial. One slip could land you in muck, or worse. You haven't brushed your teeth, washed your face, but those wait. For now, your body's endured a ritual of indignity, and your mind tries not to dwell on how much worse today might get. One thing's certain. Here, nothing's easy, and everything has its price. You've survived the morning, dragging through mud and the indignity of the wooden bucket. Your stomach growls, demanding something to fill it. In dreams, you might picture a fragrant breakfast, buttered toast, hot coffee, or a plate of fried eggs. But this is Pennsylvania, 1325, and such things exist only in the rich's imagination. You shuffle to the hut's corner, where a feeble fire struggles to burn, and sit by a chipped wooden bowl. What awaits isn't a meal, but another trial. The main dish is porridge, a thick gray sludge that looks scooped from a swamp. It's cooked from whatever's left: barley grains, some turnips, maybe wilted greens if you're lucky. This pot's been simmering over the fire for a week, maybe a month, with new scraps tossed in, no one bothering to clean it. Each spoonful is a battle, not for taste. It has none. But because you know last night's rat might have swum through. Beside it, a bread chunk, hard as stone, made from coarse rye or oats. It's not food, it's a weapon. You could fend off an attacker with it. Biting in, you feel sawdust or something crunchy you hope isn't dirt. To drink? Crystal clear stream water is a deadly trap, teeming with parasites and bacteria from upstream, where someone dumped waste, or worse. Instead, you sip weak, cloudy ale, low in alcohol, brewed for survival. Children drink it too, not for fun, but because it's the only way to avoid dying of thirst. You eye the bowl, trying not to think it's been used by the whole family, unwashed, just wiped with a hand. Meat, cheese, fresh fruit? Those are luxuries, appearing only on Sundays or holy days, and even then, just for those in grand manors near Philadelphia. You, a common farmer, might see meat a few times a year, fruit only in autumn, before it rots into cider. Each gulp of porridge is a reminder. Eating isn't for enjoyment, but survival. You chew slowly, not by choice, but because your teeth ache, your stomach rebelling if you rush. Spices are noblemen's dreams. Salt is a prized asset, locked in chests. You try not to see the fly crawling on the bowl's rim. Try not to think tomorrow holds the same meal. Breakfast doesn't energize. It just keeps you upright, enough to face the torment of the day's work. Now, you must dress, if you can call the rough cloth on your body clothes. Wardrobes don't exist. You own one outfit, a long wool or linen tunic, frayed and torn, worn for months, maybe years. It reeks like a stable, stiff with dried sweat and dirt. Underwear is optional. If lucky, you have a thin linen strip beneath. If not, coarse wool chafes your skin, itching relentlessly. Laundry is a distant concept. Water's hauled from the river, heated over fire, scrubbed with ash or stones. Then you dry it in rare sunlight, praying it doesn't rain. Shoes? Another dream. If you own a pair, they're crude leather, poorly stitched, shredded in weeks. Most times you tread barefoot through mud, dung, and stones sharp as knives. Your skin is a battlefield. Flea bites, lice crawling, red welts that never heal. Everyone itches, from farmers to nobles in grand houses. You scratch with nails, wooden spoons, and no one notices. It's life. If a rash appears, you pray it's not scabies. No doctors, no medicine, just endurance. Your clothes don't protect you. They're another reminder your body isn't yours. It belongs to the earth, bugs, and cold. You stand there in itching rags, stomach churning from porridge, trying to muster a smile. But smiles are luxuries. Your teeth, if any remain, are a horror story. No brushes, no toothpaste, just some chewing twigs or rinsing with stale ale. By 20, your mouth's a graveyard. Decayed teeth, swollen gums, breath heavy as a mine. Toothaches are constant companions. The only cure a yanking. No anesthesia, just rusty pliers and a barber doubling as doctor. You chew bread, dreading a toothache turning to fever, then death. Here, every trifle can kill, and you haven't left the hut. You stand there, in the dismal Lancaster hut, body itching, stomach heavy with porridge. Faint light seeps through wooden cracks, not to comfort, but to remind you the sun's up and work awaits. Here, there are no days off, no weekends, no morning coffee breaks. Your life, as an ordinary farmer in Pennsylvania, 1325, is an endless loop of labor, pain, and survival. You take a breath, trying to ignore the ache in your back, and step outside. The world doesn't welcome you. It challenges you. Work isn't a choice. It's a sentence. You're among the 90% toiling for the land, not yours, but a lord's, living in a grand house near Philadelphia, likely unaware of your name. From sunrise to darkness, swallowing the fields, you hunch over plots. Your tools are crude, a worn wooden hoe, a rusty sickle, and calloused hands numb to feeling. You plow, sow, weed, haul water from a stream miles away, each motion a knife in your spine. No one asks if you're tired. No one cares if your shoulders tremble with exhaustion. Here, fatigue isn't a reason to stop. It's just life. If you're a woman, the burden's heavier. Beyond fields, you spin wool, cook, tend children, feed chickens. You get no rest, no moment to breathe. Children, from age 5, wield tiny hoes, working beside you. They don't attend school, don't play, only dirt, sweat, and faint dreams of a day without hunger. If not a farmer, perhaps you're a blacksmith in town, inhaling black forge smoke, or a tanner, steeped in the stench of chemicals and blood. Whatever the trade, work is war, its sole reward, another day alive. Weather offers no mercy. Pennsylvania winters are a savage beast, howling through flimsy hut walls. No central heating, just a frail fire, firewood costly as gold. Gathering wood from forests risks fines, or worse, hanging if it's the Lord's land. You huddle in a damp wool tunic, breath freezing, fingers numb as stones. Summer flips the script, turning huts into clay ovens. Sweat streams, flies buzz, mosquitoes bite relentlessly. You can't shed clothes, fearing sunburn or judgment. Bearing skin is sinful here. The sun scorches fields, and heat stroke is just bad luck. You work, rain or shine, because stopping means starvation. Water's another foe. You're parched, but the nearby stream is risky. Upstream, someone might have dumped waste, or a rotting animal taints it. One wrong sip could spark fever, gut-wrenching pain, death on your straw pile. So, you drink ale. Weak, murky, brewed for survival, not drunkenness. Even children drink it, the safest way to quench thirst. Bathing? A dangerous notion. People believe soaking opens pores, inviting disease. Rare town bathhouses are dens of gossip and scandal, often banned by the church. To bathe, you haul water, heat it, pour it into a leaky wooden tub, an effort not worth it when rainwater barrels breed moss and bugs. Your health is a cruel jest. Teeth rot, aching with each bite. A small hand cut can swell, leading to fever, death. No real doctors, just barbers doubling as surgeons, pulling teeth or bleeding you with filthy knives by candlelight. Medicine here is a gamble. They believe illness stems from imbalanced humors, blood, bile, or vague black air. Fever? They slice your arm to release blood. Stomachache? Swallow a purgative or pray. Survive, it's a miracle. Die, they dig a shallow pit and forget you. Each day is a battle with body, land, and God. You toil until sunset, back throbbing like it's been hammered, hands bleeding from hoeing. You return to the hut, not to rest, but to prepare supper, maybe more porridge, or if lucky, a boiled turnip scrap. You don't dream of the future, don't ponder advancement. The sole goal is surviving tomorrow. In darkness, as the fire dies, you lie on straw, hearing wind whistle through wall cracks, wondering if tomorrow will be kinder. But you know the answer. Here, there's no hope, only endurance. And tomorrow, you'll start again. The fire in your Lancaster hut flickers weakly, darkness creeping in like an uninvited guest. You lie on the straw pile, body aching from a day hunched in the fields, but your stomach still growls, craving something to soothe it. Supper, a moment you hope might bring comfort, is yet another trial in the merciless days of Pennsylvania, 1325. You drag yourself to the hut's corner, where an old, soot-caked iron pot simmers. The smell promises nothing but disappointment, but you've learned not to expect much. Here, food isn't for enjoyment. It's a fight to survive. Waiting in the pot is stew, a slimy mash of turnips, barley, and unidentifiable greens, bubbling since last week. Sometimes, a tiny bone floats up, remnants of a rabbit you were lucky to snare before risking poaching charges. Each spoonful is a gamble. Will you chew grit, a straw strand, or something worse? Beside it sits bread, hard as granite, from coarse rye or oats, not to eat outright, but to barter with. You soak it in stew, hoping to soften it enough to spare your teeth. Meat is a distant luxury, reserved for holy days at church, and even then, for the wealthy in Philadelphia, not you. Fruit? Only when autumn brings wild apples, quickly rotting or stolen by neighbor kids. Your only drink is weak ale, the cloudy liquid you've sipped since morning. Water, with its parasites and stench from the stream, is a hazard. You take a gulp, trying not to dwell on the shared wooden cup, unwashed, barely wiped by hands. Spices are myth. A pinch of salt is treasure, locked away. Pepper or cinnamon exists only in noblemen's dreams. Each stew bite sliding down reminds you, you eat not for hunger, but because without it, you'll collapse in the fields tomorrow. You chew slowly, not by choice, but because your teeth ache, your stomach rebelling if you rush. A fly lands on the bowl's rim, and you only sigh. It's hungry too, like you. After eating, you sit by the dying fire, body leaden, mind unrested. Here, there's no time for dreams or reflection. The church dictates life's rhythm. A bell from the town's small chapel tolls, urging prayer. Not because you wish, but because skipping is sin. In medieval Pennsylvania, religion isn't faith. It's law, a blade over your head. The church decides when you work, rest, eat meat, even think beyond God. Daily, bells mark prayer hours, morning, noon, night, and missing one risks your neighbor, like Martha next door, snitching to the priest. Sin is everywhere. Eating meat on Friday? Sin. Envying a neighbor? Sin. Forgetting to bow as the priest passes? Grave sin. The church teaches hell is real, with eternal flames and demons waiting to tear you apart. The priest's vivid tales make you feel heat on your face when you close your eyes. You can't read the Bible. It's in Latin, for clerics and nobles. You know only what the priest says, and if he claims crop failures stem from insufficient prayers, you kneel, begging forgiveness. Tithes, a tenth of your possessions, are mandatory. You give grain, eggs, anything, even if it starves your family. Don't pay? You lose not just your soul, everything. Holy days, rare respites, bring no joy. You attend Mass, fast, confess. Reminded happiness is temptation. Questioning the church is suicide. Heretics burn, skeptics are beaten, whispered dissent risks exile, a death sentence in this world. You bow, mutter prayers, hoping your soul's saved after a life of suffering. But deep down, you know, God may be merciful, the church is not. If you're a woman, life's harsher. Beyond fields, spinning wool, and child-rearing, you're silent, submissive, invisible. Married at 14, birthing at 15, dead from exhaustion by 30. That's your path. Education is for nobles. You learn cooking, mending. Marriage isn't love, but land and livestock. Your opinion? No one cares. Childbirth is a mortal gamble. No doctors, no medicine, just a midwife and prayers. Many don't survive a second birth. If you do, work piles on, tending kids, cooking, field labor, ignoring lice crawling from your husband. You return to the straw pile, body spent, mind weighed by church bells. You lie down, hearing wind howl, family snoring. Tomorrow it repeats. But in darkness, a question lingers. Is there more than this? You dare not answer. Here, hope is luxury, and you ran out long ago. Darkness engulfs the Lancaster hut, only a few glowing embers flickering in the hearth. You lie on the straw pile, body aching from a day hunched in the fields, mind heavy with the church bell's lingering echo. But even in this fleeting moment of supposed calm, the outside world won't let you rest. In Pennsylvania, 1325, peace is an illusion, and violence is society's breath. You close your eyes, but sleep doesn't come easily. For somewhere out there, a scream, a blade, or a fist could shatter the night. This isn't a world of knights or heroes. It's a place where survival demands you grow accustomed to blood. Violence here isn't the exception. It's the rule. In the cramped hut, your family huddles, but closeness guarantees no safety. A wrong word, a misplaced glance, can turn kin into foes. Men are permitted, even encouraged, to discipline wives and children with fists. A child crying too loudly, a wife talking back, and no one blinks when a slap rings out. Beyond the muddy path, violence is rawer. Brawls erupt over a stolen chicken, a disputed plot, or just a drunk venting rage. You tread carefully, head low, for brushing a drunk's shoulder at market could draw a dagger to your throat. Law, if it exists, is a cruel jest. The Lord in his grand house near Philadelphia cares not for justice, only power. Steal a loaf to feed your child? Lose a hand. Lie? Your tongue's pierced. Talk too much, especially as a woman? An iron mask, the scold's bridle, locks your mouth, blood seeping from lips. Graver crimes, heresy, witchcraft, lead to grotesque trials. Trial by boiling water is one. Dip your hand in scalding liquid to grab a stone. If the burn heals in 3 days, you're innocent. If not, the stake awaits. Or you're thrown in a river. Sink, you're innocent, but drowned. Float, you're a witch, killed. Justice here isn't truth. It's a bloody spectacle to keep the masses cowed. Executions are public events, drawing crowds like festivals. In the town square, people bring bread and ale, cheering as ropes tighten or axes fall. Burning, beheading, hanging. Each death warns, don't cross the line. But what's the line? No one knows. A whisper against the church, a neighbor's suspicious glance, or mere bad luck can brand you guilty. Sarah, the lone woman down the path, was called a witch for knowing herbs. Last week, they drowned her. She didn't float. No one apologized. War looms constant. Petty feuds between lords flare over land, honor, or proving might. You could be dragged as a soldier, wielding a broken spear, fighting for a man who doesn't know your name. Bandits roam outskirts, ready to slit your throat for tattered shoes. Even in church, supposedly sacred, violence seeps. An angry priest might order lashings for short tithes. For women, danger doubles. Alone on a path, you're prey. Defy your husband, you're a sinner. Surviving past 30 without pregnancy or beatings is a feat. You learn to live with fear. Every nighttime sound, a snapping twig, a barking dog, makes your heart race. You keep a small knife under the straw, not for attack, but defense. Yet you know, if violence comes, it's useless. This society doesn't crumble from violence, it's built on it. People accept it, like winter's cold or summer's hunger. You trust no one. Avoid lingering eye contact. Your neighbor, sharing bread yesterday, might denounce you tomorrow over a land scrap. For women, violence isn't just external, it's life's fabric. Marriage is a new prison. Your husband can beat you, society calling it discipline. Childbirth is a bloody battle, death ever near. Unmarried? Suspect. Widowed? A target. Too knowledgeable. Like healing with herbs? A witch. Daily, you tread a line between submission and survival, knowing one misstep could end it all. You return to the straw, body drained, mind taut as a bowstring. Wind howls through wall cracks, carrying cold and dread. You close your eyes, trying not to think of tomorrow. Another day of dirt, blood, survival. But in the dark, a spark glimmers. Humans, though crushed, find ways to endure. They whisper tales, sing songs, hold hands in the night. Not because life's easy, but because they're too stubborn to quit. You cling to that thought, small but warm, and slip into sleep. Tomorrow, you'll fight again. Night cloaks. Lancaster, Pennsylvania, 1325. But darkness brings no calm. Wind howls through wooden wall cracks, distant dogs bark, and your family's anxious whispers in the hut remind you life here is a fragile thread, ready to snap any time. You lie on the straw pile, body drained from a day hunched in the fields, mind racing. Death isn't distant. It's a silent companion, always lurking. In the Middle Ages, reaching 40 is a feat, and each day you survive is a triumph over fate. But triumph comes at a cost. A ravaged body, a weary soul, and a future promising only pain. Life expectancy here is a cruel jest. On average, people reach 30, maybe 40 if lucky, but infant deaths drag the number down. Nearly half of children don't pass 5, felled by disease, hunger, or Pennsylvania's bone-cutting winter cold. No vaccines, no medicine, just whispered prayers by straw piles as a child's breath stops. If you survive childhood, adulthood greets you with a worn body. Work begins when you can hold a hoe, and by 25, your back curves like dry branches, teeth wobble, eyes blur from long days under harsh sun. Women face a unique peril, childbirth. It's a razor's edge between life and death, where blood, pain, and fate intertwine. No doctors, no painkillers, just an aged midwife, murmured prayers, and a trembling hand gripping yours. A difficult birth can kill mother and child, and even if you survive, the next awaits. Many don't make it past their third or fourth. Survivors bear invisible scars, bodies weakened with each labor, minds burdened by tomorrow's fear. You bear children not for joy, but duty, and because a child might be the only one to care for you when you can't work. Men don't escape death's scythe either. A small field cut can fester, leading to fever, death in days. Accidents abound. A slipped hoe, a spooked horse, a falling log in the forest. Drunken market brawls end with a knife's thrust. And if the Lord near Philadelphia sparks war with a neighbor, you're dragged off, wielding a broken spear, fighting for a cause you don't grasp. Even simple tasks like walking to market are perilous. A roadside bandit, a loose rock, a sudden fever can end it all. Disease is the cruelest invisible foe. Plague can sweep a town in weeks, turning muddy paths into graveyards. Famine, stretching through brutal winters, leaves children gaunt, adults ghostly. Spoiled food is a constant threat. Moldy rye can trigger convulsions, hallucinations, agonizing death. You eat not from trust, but from lack of choice. Each bread bite, each stew gulp is a wager with fate. Death arrives, unceremonious. If you fall, there's no grand funeral, no polished coffin. Your body's hastily buried in a shallow pit at the graveyard's edge, if space remains. No embalming, just muttered prayers, a handful of dirt. Your family, if alive, moves on, not to forget, but to survive. Lancaster's graveyard brims with nameless mounds, lives vanishing like smoke in wind. You leave no legacy, no name carved in stone. You simply cease, and the world spins on. Yet, strangely, amid it all, people find ways to live. They don't just endure. They laugh, tell tales, sing mournful songs by fires. They clasp hands in darkness, not because life's easy, but because they refuse to yield. You see it in your mother's eyes, sharing the last bread scrap. You hear it in your brother's laugh, though he trembles with hunger. People here aren't strong by choice. They're strong because they have no other option. You lie there, on cold straw, hearing wind and family snores. Death, you know, could come any time. A fever, a blade, a winter too harsh. But in this moment, you're alive. Your breath steadies, your heart beats. And whatever tomorrow brings, you'll rise, grab the hoe, and carry on. Not because you believe in a bright future, but because it's all you know. In darkness, a tiny thought flickers. If your ancestors survived days like these, maybe, just maybe, you can too. That thought, small but warm, is enough to close your eyes, letting sleep, however fragile, carry you away. Dawn's faint light seeps through the wall cracks of your Lancaster, Pennsylvania hut, 1325. You open your eyes, body heavy as if pinned by earth, but the church bell tolls, shredding the silence. Another day begins, not with hope, but resignation. You drag yourself from the straw pile, bare feet meeting icy dirt floor, mind braced for ceaseless trials. This isn't a tale of gallant knights or grand castles from old books. It's the raw truth of medieval life, a merciless world where each breath is a victory, each day a reminder you're one step from death. Today, you step from the hut with a thought. Is there more than this? But reality snuffs it out. Life here isn't a quest for meaning. It's a fight to survive. You're a farmer, like most, your world bound by muddy fields, the Lord in Philadelphia, and the church's harsh laws. No American dream exists, no chance to rise. Born poor, you'll die poor, body worn, soul drained. Even the rich, in grand stone houses, don't escape pain. Their castles are ice cold, smoky, flea-ridden, death claiming them through infected wounds or senseless wars. Each day is a brutal loop. You wake in filth, relieve yourself in a reeking bucket, eat gluey porridge, work until bones creak. Your clothes itch, crawling with lice, bare feet bleeding from sharp stones. Teeth ache, a slight fever can turn deadly. The church watches every step, ready to punish forgotten prayers or a wrong glance. Violence lurks everywhere, from a husband's fist to a bandit's blade, and death, ever present, can strike any time. A harsh winter, spoiled bread, or a day you're too weary to rise. But amid it all, a miracle. People endure, not because they're strong or brave, but stubborn. You see it in your mother's soft singing as she mends, though her hands tremble with hunger. You see it in your sister's smile, picking straw despite a growling stomach. They've no reason for hope, yet they find ways. They tell tales by fires, of better harvests, painless days. They clasp hands in darkness, not for romantic love, but because another's presence keeps them from breaking. You step into the field, weak sunlight on your face. The hoe in hand feels leaden, but you swing it because stopping means hunger, and hunger means death. You think of ancestors who lived these days, a tiny thought sparking. If they could, maybe you can too. Not because you want to, but because you must. Here, there are no heroes, no glory, only ordinary people, with calloused hands, unyielding hearts, pressing through darkness. Now, leave Lancaster a moment and join me elsewhere. Boston, Massachusetts, 18th century. Here, a young girl, Abigail Foster, is born in 1729 to a middling merchant family. No princess, no noble, but Abigail has what money can't buy, a sharp mind, a burning fire in her heart. Her father, a cloth trader, teaches her to read, to cipher. Her strict mother wants her sewing, silent. But Abigail isn't one to bow. She sneaks philosophy books, learns French from dockside sailors, watches the world with eyes missing nothing. At 14, fate calls. A queen from a neighboring colony, seeking a bride for her heir, picks Abigail. Not for beauty, though she has quiet charm, but because her family is notable enough to matter, not powerful enough to threaten. Abigail leaves Boston, a small valise in hand, heart brimming with ambition. She enters a strange, frigid city, where every eye watches, every word a trap. To be accepted, she sheds her old faith, takes a new name, Eleanor, and steps into a world where each move is a gamble. Eleanor's marriage isn't a fairy tale. Her husband, Thomas, a clumsy heir, obsesses over war games, not ruling. He cares little for her, less for the colony he'll lead. While Thomas dreams of mock battles, Eleanor learns languages, studies history, builds alliances in shadows. She knows power isn't given, it's seized. The court is a viper's nest, whispers and daggers behind smiles. But Eleanor doesn't fear. She reads great thinkers, writes to scholars, bides her time. She doesn't just want to survive, she wants to change everything. You lie on Lancaster's cold straw, but Eleanor's story kindles a spark in your mind. In another place, another time, a woman defied her scripted fate. She reminds you that, however cruel the world, some dare to dream big. Tomorrow, you'll wield the hoe again, face dirt and hunger. But in darkness, you wonder, if she could, might you find some light in your own life? That question, small but potent, is all you carry into sleep. Dawn's faint light spills through the wall cracks of your Lancaster, Pennsylvania hut, 1325. You rise from the straw pile, body aching as if crushed, but the church bell's toll permits no delay. Another day begins, promising nothing but sweat, hunger, and fragile survival. Yet in your mind, Eleanor Foster's story from Boston lingers, a small flame against the dark. She, an ordinary girl, stepped into a world of daggers and false smiles, not to bow, but to seize a crown. Here, in the frigid hut, you have no crown to claim, but her tale makes you wonder, is there a way to rise above this darkness, even just a little? Let's return to 18th century Boston, where Eleanor navigates a ruthless court. Her marriage to Thomas, the bumbling heir, is a gilded cage. Thomas is no fairy tale prince. He's a childish man, preferring toy warships to ruling. He ignores Eleanor, neglects the colony he'll lead, and openly admires its enemies. While Thomas enrages the court with tantrums, Eleanor does the opposite. She learns new languages, studies customs, embraces the colony's culture. She doesn't just want acceptance. She wants to belong. The court is a maze of betrayal. Every eye tracks her. Every letter she writes is pilfered. Every smile hides a blade. The queen, who brought Eleanor here, wields absolute power, but her health wanes. All know a power shift looms, each scheming for their gain. Eleanor trusts no one, not Thomas, not her mother, sending selfish letters from Boston, certainly not the whispering servants. A wrong word, a misstep in alliances, could cost her everything. But Eleanor isn't prey. She's a hunter, moving in shadows, building loyalty step by step. She befriends army officers. Thomas insults, chats with scholars he scorns. She smiles, listens, remembers every detail. Behind closed doors, she reads banned books, ideas of reason and power from distant thinkers. She writes to them, not to boast, but to learn. Eleanor doesn't just survive the court. She's preparing. She knows the throne isn't inherited by the weak like Thomas. It's claimed with wit, patience, and sometimes ruthlessness. Back in Lancaster, you grip your hoe, stepping into the field under a gray sky. Mud clings to your feet, cold wind cutting like knives. Your work is endless, plowing, sowing, weeding, praying crops don't fail. You have no court, no throne to seize, but you're fighting too, not with daggers, but dirt, hunger, and ever-lurking death. Eleanor, in her world, learned to play a deadly game, each move a gamble. You, here, play your own, the game of survival. Each hoe swing is a defiance of fate. Each day you rise, back aching, stomach empty, is a small victory. You lack philosophy books or officers to ally with, but you have family. Your mother sharing the last bread scrap, your brother helping haul stream water. They're your allies, not in a court, but in the fight against cold, starvation, darkness. You glance across the field, where other farmers hunch, and see what Eleanor saw. Strength comes not just from power, but persistence. Eleanor, in Boston, bides her time. She knows Thomas can't rule. He insults the army, mocks the church, alienates the people with arrogant words. The court whispers discontent, and Eleanor listens, notes, plans. She's unhurried. Haste is death. She builds her reputation as calm, wise, loyal to the colony, the antithesis of Thomas. Each smile, each word, lays a stone in her future power's foundation. You, in Lancaster, have no time for plans, but each step in the field is a stone in your foundation of survival. You don't dream of thrones, but of a day without hunger, a night without cold. Those dreams, small yet fierce, keep you standing. Eleanor saw opportunity in courtly chaos. You see it in small moments. A good harvest, a day without sickness, your sister's smile. As the sun sets, you return to the hut, body spent, mind alight. Eleanor, in her world, weaves a web of power, thread by thread. You, here, weave another, of endurance, unyielding will. In darkness, you lie down, hearing wind and family snores. A thought sparks. Court or field, humans fight. Eleanor fights with cunning, you with hands, but both refuse surrender. That thought, a small flame, warms you through the cold night. Tomorrow you'll rise, and like Eleanor, you'll carry on. The sun hangs low over Lancaster, Pennsylvania's muddy fields, 1325, its light offering no warmth. You swing your hoe, earth clinging like it's grasping, sweat streaming despite skin-cutting wind. Each strike reminds you, here, to live is to fight, and fighting is all you have. Your weary mind drifts to Eleanor Foster's story in 18th century Boston. She, a woman thrust between power and ruin, chose not just to survive, but to dominate. In this frigid hut, you've no crown to seize, but Eleanor's will is a lantern, lighting your rugged path. Return to Boston, where Eleanor stands at fate's crossroads. After nearly 2 decades of waiting, watching, weaving power's threads in shadows. She sees her moment. The queen, once ruling the court with an iron grip, has died. Thomas, Eleanor's husband, now heads the colony, but his crown is brittle as glass. He's no leader, a living mistake. In months, Thomas turns the court to chaos. He insults the army with jeers, alienates nobles with arrogant decrees, openly praises the colony's foes. The people, already discontent, whisper of his ineptitude. Even farmers on Boston's outskirts curse his name, hunched over their fields. Eleanor sees it all, not with fear, but cold calculation. She spent years building loyalty. Army officers, humiliated by Thomas, see her as a confidant. Scholars, ignored by him, respect her intellect. The people, though unaware of her, sense a difference. While Thomas scorns tradition, Eleanor embraces it, learning the colony's language, rituals, history, as if born there. She's not just Thomas's wife. She's his opposite, a quiet flame amid his storm. The moment strikes one summer morning, as Thomas leaves for a coastal manor retreat. Eleanor doesn't hesitate. Backed by key allies, including a young officer, James, her trusted friend, she acts. Donning ceremonial robes, she rides through Boston's cobblestone streets, proclaiming herself the new leader. The royal guard, fed up with Thomas, swears allegiance. The people, hearing news, flood the streets, not to protest, but to cheer. Thomas, caught off guard, friendless, surrenders in days. He's confined, and soon found dead, officially from illness, though whispers speak of a blade in the dark. Eleanor now rules, not by blood or marriage, but wit, daring, and steely will. It's unprecedented. A woman, born to a modest merchant family, with no legal claim, seizes a throne without spilling blood. But she knows crowns are easier won than kept. This colony, with rival factions and restless people, won't easily accept a female ruler. She must prove she's not just a usurper, but a true leader. Back in Lancaster, you pause hoeing, wiping sweat from your brow, gazing across the field. Eleanor's story feels worlds away, yet it stirs something in you. She battled courtly vipers, you battle earth, hunger, death's shadow. She used cunning, you use your hands' strength. But both defy scripted fates. You've no army or scholars, but you have your mother, sharing the last bread crust, your brother, hauling stream water. They're your small, fierce army. Eleanor, in Boston, consolidates power. She doesn't rest on the throne. She works. She meets officers, hears the people, issues decrees to fix Thomas's errors. She knows power stems not just from strength, but respect. She reforms laws, eases harsh punishments, opens schools for poor children. Yet, she's pragmatic. She secures nobles' loyalty by guarding their privileges, even if it means shelving lofty ideals. She treads a line between reform and stability, dream and reality. You, in Lancaster, have no laws to reform, but each day survived is a small reform. You plant grain, though soil's barren. You share porridge, though it's scarce. You sing by fires, though your voice cracks from exhaustion. Eleanor made the court her stage. You make the field your battlefield. As the sun sets, you return to the hut, body spent, mind ablaze. Eleanor's story reminds you that, anywhere, humans can rise. You lie down, hearing wind howl, telling yourself, tomorrow you'll rise again. Not because you want to, but because, like Eleanor, you don't know surrender. In darkness, that thought is your only light. The sun sinks behind Lancaster, Pennsylvania's hills, 1325, leaving a cold gray sky. You trudge to the hut, hands raw from gripping the hoe, back throbbing like it's been hammered. The fire inside flickers with a few embers, too weak to warm, yet the only barrier against darkness swallowing you. Eleanor Foster's story, the woman who seized Boston's throne, lingers in your mind. She didn't just claim power, she shaped it, turning a chaotic colony into a symbol of ambition, reason. Here, amid mud and hunger, you've no crown, but Eleanor's tenacity is a breeze, stirring strength to face tomorrow. Return to 18th century Boston, where Eleanor, now supreme leader, faces her greatest challenge, turning a bold coup into a lasting legacy. She doesn't want to merely rule, she wants to transform. Unlike Thomas, obsessed with superficial power, Eleanor draws from grand ideas, reason, education, a government serving people, though she retains absolute control. She reads distant great thinkers, corresponds with them, not to boast, but to infuse their vision into the colony's harsh reality. She dreams of a Boston not just strong, but enlightened. Eleanor acts swiftly. She convenes a council to rewrite laws, an ambitious project for justice, order. Her proclamation, dense with ideas, calls for equality before law, abolishing torture, and rulers' accountability. In a colony where whips and gallows are norm, these words border on revolutionary. But Eleanor isn't naive. She knows nobles, wielding land and power, won't easily yield privileges. So, she plays a deft game, opening schools, building libraries, easing penalties for the poor, while securing elite loyalty by safeguarding their interests. She's a reformer in public, a politician in shadows. She confronts the colony's complex reality. Boston's outskirt farmers, like you in Lancaster, toil hunched, living in poverty, fear. They don't care for philosophy. They want bread. Eleanor understands. She cuts taxes for the poor, opens new trade routes, boosts agriculture. Yet she knows rapid change could destabilize the colony. So, she moves deliberately, each decree a stone in a future's foundation, weighed to preserve the present. Back in Lancaster, you sit by the dying fire, a cold porridge bowl in hand. Eleanor's world is centuries away, but her persistence resonates. She battled nobles, factions. You battle barren soil, hunger, death. She used wit. You use hands. Yet both grasp that survival isn't enough. You must leave a mark, however small. You share the last bread scrap with your sister, though your stomach growls. That's your decree, not on paper, but etched in this moment. Eleanor doesn't just reform within. She looks outward, where the colony's borders face neighboring threats. She doesn't want Boston a mere map dot. She wants it a force. She launches military campaigns, not just to defend, but to expand. Under loyal generals, her armies seize new lands, from strategic ports to fertile plains. Each victory sends a message. Boston's no longer a frail colony. It's a rising empire. She builds new cities, invites distant settlers to farm, turns muddy paths into trade hubs. But she doesn't conquer by sword alone. She conquers with ideas, bringing education, culture to new lands. You, in Lancaster, have no armies or lands to claim. But each seed you sow is a small victory. Each day survived a plot reclaimed from death. Eleanor built libraries. You tell fireside tales to your brother of better harvests, painless days. That's your culture, humble but alive. As night falls, you lie on straw, hearing wind whistle through wall cracks. Eleanor's story reminds you that, court or field, humans can leave marks. She used decrees, wars. You use endurance, shared moments. Eleanor knows her power lies not just in the throne, but in shaping the narrative. She casts herself as the colony's mother, guardian of culture, reason. She builds museums, collects art, makes Boston an intellectual hub. Yet she wields an iron hand. Challengers are quietly punished, often vanishing by night. She knows power's aflame, beautiful, but uncontrolled. It consumes all. You have no museums, but your own whispered tales in the dark. You speak of today, how you outlasted hunger, laughed despite aching teeth. Those stories are your museum, keeping your flame alive. As sleep nears, you hold the thought that, like Eleanor, you're building something, not with stone or gold, but will. Tomorrow, you'll rise, and though the world tries to crush you, you won't yield. In darkness, that thought is your crown. Night blankets your Lancaster, Pennsylvania, hut, 1325, bringing bone-chilling cold and wind whistling through wooden cracks. You lie on the straw pile, body spent from a day's grueling field labor, mind restless. Family snores, rats rustling in corners, and vague fears of tomorrow make sleep a luxury. In the darkness, Eleanor Foster's story glimmers like a distant star, a woman who turned herself from pawn to player, from outsider to ruler. Here, amid mud and hunger, you've no court to conquer, but her unyielding spirit sparks a light in you. However cruel the world, there's a way to fight back. Return to 18th century Boston, where Eleanor, now supreme leader, doesn't just rule, but shapes the colony's destiny. She's not content sitting on the throne. She wants to expand it, not just with land, but ideas. Under her guidance, Boston becomes a force, its borders stretching from wind-swept ports to fertile plains. Yet her power lies not in armies or territory, but in how she crafts her story, transforming Boston from a backward colony into a hub of civilization, ambition. Eleanor fights not with swords, but vision. She knows a ruler needs not just strength, but respect. She builds schools, libraries, museums, bringing knowledge to the colony's darkest corners. She invites distant scholars, corresponds with them, not to boast, but to learn. She collects art, turning her palace into a nexus of beauty, ideas. Yet she's no dreamer. She knows people, from farmers to nobles, live not on philosophy, but bread and safety. So she expands trade, builds roads, cuts taxes for the poor, ensuring all feel her hand, whether through gratitude or fear. She doesn't shy from an iron grip. Challengers, disgruntled nobles, scheming officers, vanish quietly, often in the night. Eleanor rules not with sentiment, but calculation. She knows powers aflame, radiant yet prone to rage. She keeps it controlled, masking daggers with smiles, soothing the masses with reforms, reminding all who's master with her army. She's not just a leader, she's an architect of a new era. Back in Lancaster, you sit by the fading fire, a cold porridge bowl in hand. Eleanor's world is a distant dream, but you see your reflection in her. She built libraries. You tell your brother fireside tales of better harvests, painless days. She expanded borders. You expand hope, however small, sharing the last bread scrap with your mother. Each hoe swing in the field is a stone in your survival's foundation, like each of Eleanor's decrees builds her empire. But Eleanor's power comes at a cost. A woman in a man's world, her every move is scrutinized. The masses whisper of her private life, her young companions, not lovers in the usual sense, but officers, scholars, artists chosen for loyalty, talent. She doesn't hide them. She grants them land, titles, respect, yet cuts them loose if they cease to serve. Europe, harsh on women in power, spreads vicious rumors, painting her as libertine, even mad. Eleanor doesn't care. She knows a woman's power is ever threatened by gossip, and the only way to survive is to ignore it. She lives by her own philosophy. Joy is natural, and power needn't sacrifice her true self. She separates private life from politics, a feat few male leaders achieve. Her companions don't weaken her. They extend her will, bolstering court and empire. While enemies mock, she builds, loves, rules, never apologizing for being herself. That audacity makes her legend, and a threat to those wanting her downfall. In Lancaster, you've no companions or court, but you know scrutiny's sting. Every act, from sharing bread to bowing to the priest, is watched. Neighbor Mary might smile today, but tomorrow she'll snitch if you skip prayers. You've no power to shrug off whispers, but strength to press on, to eat bitter porridge, swing a bloodied hoe, sing with a hoarse voice. That's how you defy the world, not with daggers, but will. As night deepens, you lie down, hearing wind and family snores. Eleanor turned mockery into strength, doubt into a crown. You turn pain into survival, hunger into a reason to rise. Her story reminds you that, court or field, humans can transcend. You've no museums or armies, but small moments, a shared smile, a tale told in dark, are your legacy. In darkness, you close your eyes, clutching the thought that, like Eleanor, you won't yield. Tomorrow, whatever awaits, you'll fight again, not for glory, but because it's all you know. Night's chill seeps through the wooden cracks of your Lancaster, Pennsylvania hut, 1325, crawling over your skin like a curse. You huddle on the straw pile, body aching from a day's grueling field labor, but sleep eludes you. Wind howls, rats scurry in corners, and your family's heavy breaths in the cramped space form a wordless song of survival. In the darkness, Eleanor Foster's story flickers like a small flame, reminding you that even in the harshest places, humans can shape fate. She, a woman thrust onto power's edge, didn't just rule. She forged an era. Here, amid mud and hunger, you've no throne, but her unyielding will sparks a question. Can you find light in this darkness, even a sliver? Return to 18th century Boston, where Eleanor, now supreme ruler, faces gathering shadows of rebellion. In 1773, a new threat emerges, not from court or foreign foes, but from the people she governs. A grizzled veteran, Samuel Holt, from the outlying plains, claims to be Thomas, Eleanor's long-dead husband. He declares he survived her coup, returning to reclaim the throne from the foreign usurper. His words are lies. Thomas died years ago. But to exhausted farmers, disgruntled laborers, truth matters little. Samuel promises to abolish taxes, redistribute land, restore justice for the poor. His words ignite like wildfire, spreading through fields and workshops, kindling hope in forgotten hearts. Samuel's rebellion isn't just an angry mob. It's the colony's greatest storm. Small towns fall, noble estates burn. Eleanor's loyalists are dragged into streets. For a moment, her throne trembles. This isn't a war with distant enemies she can crush with armies. It's a war with her own people, weary of an unjust system she, despite reforms, upholds. Farmers, like you in Lancaster, care not for Eleanor's libraries or museums. They want bread, land, a life uncrushed. Eleanor doesn't panic. She summons her generals, sworn to her in the coup, and orders suppression. Her well-armed, loyal army marches through fields, quelling rebel bands with cold ruthlessness. Samuel is captured, paraded through Boston in an iron cage, executed in the square, his head severed as warning. But Eleanor's victory isn't joy. It's a painful reminder of power's limits. She can build schools, open ports, but can't erase the chasm between rulers and ruled. Samuel's rebellion shows her throne, though solid, rests on brittle ground. Afterward, Eleanor shifts. She grows cautious, leaning on nobles to maintain stability. Her enlightened dreams, equality, education, reason, are shelved for control. She tightens surveillance, snuffing dissent before it sprouts. She remains a reformer, but now reforms serve the throne more than the people. Samuel's rebellion didn't just claim his life. It dimmed the idealist flame in Eleanor. She still rules, but with a heavier hand, sharper gaze. Back in Lancaster, you sit by the dying fire, clutching a hard bread scrap. Eleanor's story touches you, not for power or thrones, but its fragility. In Boston, people rose for bread, land. Here, you toil in fields, for bread, land. You've no iron cage for enemies, but face endless days battling hunger, barren soil, lurking death. Eleanor used armies to crush rebellion. You use will to crush despair within. Each seed you sow is defiance, not against lords, but a fate bent on breaking you. Each porridge scrap shared with your sister is your decree, not on parchment, but carved in heart. Eleanor built museums to preserve culture. You tell fireside tales of better harvests, painless days. That's your culture, small but undying. As night deepens, you lie down, hearing wind, family snores. Eleanor's story reminds you that, court or field, humans face darkness, and the only way through is to keep fighting. Eleanor, in Boston, rules for decades more, leaving a wealthy, vast, fearsome colony. She's imperfect, upholding inequities for stability, shelving dreams to guard her throne. Yet she achieved the unthinkable. A woman, born to no ruling claim, shaped a nation's fate. You, in Lancaster, have no empire, but small victories. Each day survived, each smile shared. In darkness, you close your eyes, holding the thought that, like Eleanor, you're writing your story, not with gold or blood, but unyielding will. Tomorrow, whatever awaits, you'll rise. And though the world tries to choke you, you won't yield. That's your throne, held by your own hands. Night's heavy shroud falls over your Lancaster, Pennsylvania, hut, 1325, leaving only faint glimmers from dying embers. You huddle on the straw pile, body throbbing as if crushed after a day's grueling field labor, mind restless. Wind howls through wooden cracks, blending with family snores, rats rustling, crafting a wordless hymn of survival. In the darkness, Eleanor Foster's story shines like an unyielding flame, reminding you that even in the harshest places, humans can shape fate. She, a woman navigating power's sharp edges, left a timeless legacy. Here, amid mud and hunger, you've no throne, but her resilience sparks a question. Can you leave a mark, however small, in this cruel world? Return to 18th century Boston, where Eleanor, after over 3 decades of rule, has forged the colony into an unignorable force. Under her hand, Boston expanded by thousands of square miles, seizing strategic ports, fertile lands. She didn't just conquer, she reshaped. Muddy paths became trade hubs. Tiny hamlets grew into cities. She welcomed distant settlers, built schools, made Boston a nexus of art, knowledge. Her museum, housing global masterpieces, testifies to her vision. A colony not just mighty, but civilized. Yet Eleanor's legacy isn't only stone and gold. She brought vaccines to Boston, inoculating herself first to prove safety, a bold act in a superstitious age. She opened schools for poor children, including girls, defying notions that education was for elites. She corresponded with the era's greatest minds, debating reason, power, not to boast, but to learn. Her court was a stage for beauty, ambition, where artists, scholars, warriors dined together. But she wasn't flawless. She upheld inequities for stability, refusing to free impoverished laborers, despite a heart once dreaming of equality. Her reforms, though daring, stopped at power's edge. she wouldn't risk her throne. Eleanor knew power wasn't a divine gift. It was crafted, nurtured, fiercely guarded. She ruled with will, razor-sharp intellect, turning foes into allies. Called reformer, tyrant, visionary, schemer, above all, she was effective. When she died late in the century, Boston was richer, vaster, stronger than ever. She left a sturdy throne, an expanded empire, a legend enduring in hearts. She didn't just rule. She redefined ruling, especially as a woman in a man's world. Back in Lancaster, you sit by the fading fire, clutching a hard bread scrap. Eleanor's world lies centuries away, but her persistence pulses in her story. She built museums. You tell your brother tales of better harvests, painless days. She expanded borders. You expand hope, however small, sharing porridge with your mother despite your growling stomach. Each hoe swing in the field is a stone in your survival's foundation. Like each of Eleanor's decrees built her empire. You've no schools or museums, but small moments. A shared smile, a hand clasped in cold night, are your legacy. Eleanor battled nobles, factions. You battle barren soil, hunger, death. She used wit. You use hands. Yet both reject preordained fates. As night deepens, you lie down, hearing wind. Family snores. Eleanor's story reminds you that, court or field, humans can leave marks. She etched her name in history. You etch yours in days survived, moments unyielded. Eleanor wasn't just a leader. She was defiance incarnate. She faced loneliness despite a dazzling court. Her son, untrusted, grew in shadow, threatening her works. Her closest companions, loyal yet unable to fill her heart's void, left her isolated. But she pressed on. She worked, wrote, ruled, each day a battle to keep the flame alive. She knew legacy isn't what you hold, but what you leave. And she left a Boston not just surviving, but thriving. You, in Lancaster, are lonely too. Family surrounds you, but fear, hunger, make you feel adrift. Each day, you fight earth, cold, your own body, unseen scars piling up. But like Eleanor, you don't stop. You swing the hoe, share bread, sing with a hoarse voice. That's how you build legacy, not with stone or gold, but unbowed will. As sleep nears, you hold the thought that, like Eleanor, you're writing your story. She left an empire. You leave small moments, quiet victories. In darkness, you close your eyes, warmed by that thought. Tomorrow, though soil's barren, hunger heavy, you'll rise. You'll fight, not for glory, but because it's all you know. And in those moments, you're not just a Lancaster farmer. You're heir to Eleanor's flame, a fire unquenched, no matter how thick the dark. Dawn creeps silently through the wooden cracks of your Lancaster, Pennsylvania, hut, 1325, bringing faint light and cold sharp as knives. You open your eyes, body broken from yesterday's labor, but the church bell tolls, urging you up. The straw beneath you is hard, damp, reeking of earth and sweat, but you've no time to complain. Another day begins, with mud, hunger, and will as your only anchors. In your mind, Eleanor Foster's story smolders, a flame refusing to die. She, a woman who rose from outsider to legend, reminds you that however brutal the world, there's a way to etch your name into time. Here, you've no crown, but each hose strike is a stroke in your story. Leave Lancaster a moment and join me elsewhere. Tennessee's hills, 7th century, where ruins of an ancient civilization lie hidden under dense forest. Limestone temples, worn by time, rise like silent sentinels, whispering of a lost world. In 1994, archaeologists, led by Clara Monroe, uncover a secret in Temple 3, a modest pyramid beside the grand temple of King Maka, the legendary ruler of this city-state. They expect little, another looted tomb. But digging deeper, they find a sealed chamber, untouched. The air is heavy, as if time stopped. Inside, a stone sarcophagus rests, cloaked in vibrant red dust, like dried blood clinging tight. Clara's team lifts the lid, and a crimson cloud rises, glinting under flashlight beams. It's cinnabar, a toxic mineral ground to powder, radiating hues of life, death. Within the dust lies a woman's fragile, intact skeleton. Around her are offerings, jade necklaces, shell earrings, a jade inlaid mask, crafted as if to shield a soul. Each detail exudes royalty, yet no name, no inscription. Who was she? A queen, priestess, Maka's wife? The archaeologists call her the Red Queen, and the name, like a curse, clings to her mystery. This tomb isn't just a resting place. It's a portal. Cinnabar's vivid red isn't mere color. To ancient Tennesseans, it symbolized blood, rebirth, a bridge between mortal and divine realms. Coating her in cinnabar wasn't to preserve her body, but to transform her soul, preparing her for a journey to the underworld. Xibalba, a realm of trials, shadows. Cinnabar is perilous. Inhaling it can cause tremors, hallucinations, death. Its use marks her as extraordinary. Only Maka, the great king, was buried similarly, his body steeped in red. This raises a question. Was she his wife, mother, or equal in divine authority? Back in Lancaster, you grip your hoe, stepping into the field under a gray sky. The Red Queen's story touches you, not for jade or pyramids, but her silent power. Eleanor in Boston carved her name in history with wit. The Red Queen, though nameless, etched hers in ritual, mystery. You've no cinnabar or jade, but each day survived is a ritual, each shared bread scrap an offering. You leave no royal tomb, but moments, a smile with your sister, a fireside tale, are your jade. The Red Queen's tomb tells a wordless story. Her jade mask, pieced from dozens of shards, isn't mere adornment. It's a soul's shield, guarding her identity from gods. Heavy necklaces, shell earrings, scattered bone pins hint at her role: priestess, healer, queen. At her feet, sealed ceramic jars, perhaps once holding food or incense, are provisions for Xibalba's journey. Everything is meticulously placed, not for display, but to ensure she crosses the underworld not as mortal, but divine. You, in Lancaster, have no pyramid, but you prepare for your journey, not to Xibalba, but tomorrow. Each hoe swing is a step, each porridge scrap provisions. The Red Queen was buried in red. You're cloaked in mud, sweat. Yet both transcend, she through death, you through pain. As night falls, you lie down, hearing wind, family snores. The Red Queen's story reminds you that, named or forgotten, your actions hold power. You close your eyes, clutching the thought that, like her, you're writing your story, not in stone, but will. Tomorrow, though soil's barren, you won't yield. In darkness, that thought is your jade mask, guarding you through the cold night. Dawn's feeble light slips through the wooden cracks of your Lancaster, Pennsylvania hut, 1325, carrying skin-cutting cold and a reminder that another day has begun. You drag yourself from the straw pile, body aching as if crushed by earth, but the church bell's toll allows no hesitation. Bare feet meet damp dirt floor, your breath turning to mist in the frigid air. Each day is a loop of mud, hunger, and will, but in your mind, the Red Queen's story in Tennessee glimmers, a jade bead in the dark. She, a nameless yet powerful woman, buried in red and ritual, reminds you that even if your name fades, your deeds can echo. Here, you've no pyramid, but each hoe strike carves a line in your story. Return to 7th century Tennessee, where ruins of an ancient city-state lie silent under dense forest. The Red Queen's tomb, uncovered in Temple 3, is more than a resting place. It's a portal to the afterlife, crafted with meticulous meaning. Around her fragile skeleton are offerings: heavy jade necklaces, shimmering shell earrings, intricately carved bone pins, each telling a wordless tale. Jade, with its deep green, isn't mere adornment. It's a symbol of eternal life, divine breath. Only the most powerful were buried with jade, and the Red Queen, chest draped in beads, was clearly no ordinary figure. Her jade mask, covering her face, is the tomb's centerpiece. Unlike the gaudy gold masks of distant civilizations, it's delicate, pieced from dozens of tiny shards, each like a fragment of her soul. The mask doesn't just shield her identity from gods. It transforms her into a sacred entity, ready for Xibalba, the perilous underworld. Bone pins, obsidian blades scattered around her hint at her living role. Perhaps a priestess performing sacrificial rites, or a queen holding the city-state's spirit. Sealed ceramic jars at her feet, possibly once holding chocolate, maize, or incense, are provisions for her eternal journey. Each offering whispers that her death wasn't an end, but a beginning. The tomb was built with astonishing precision. Temple 3, though smaller than its grand neighbor, King Maka's temple, sits in a sacred position, aligned with the sun's path from east to west, symbolizing the journey from life to death. The sealed chamber, deep within the pyramid's core, is reachable only by a narrow staircase, as if the descent itself were a ritual. No inscriptions or murals adorn the walls. This silence isn't a flaw, but intent. This isn't a place for the living to tell stories, but for the dead to transform. Back in Lancaster, you swing your hoe in the field, mud clinging as if to drag you down. The Red Queen's story touches you, not for jade or pyramids, but her silent strength. She needed no name to be remembered. Ritual, red, offerings spoke for her. You, here, are silent too. No one carves your name in stone, but each day survived is a ritual, each shared bread scrap an offering. You've no jade mask, but your weary, steadfast gaze guards your soul against earth. Hunger. The Red Queen may have been Maka's wife, the great ruler, or his mother, wielding power before his rise. Archaeologists debate, but evidence leans toward a queen, not just behind the throne, but its pillar. Her tomb, steps from Maka's, is a declaration. She was half of a sacred story, a partner in power, ritual. Both draped in cinnabar, buried in pyramids, cloaked in jade. Their parity is no accident. It reflects a civilization where power wasn't men's alone, but shared with women like her. You, in Lancaster, have no pyramid, but you're half your family's story. Your mother, backbent from labor, sings while mending. Your sister, hungry, smiles picking straw. They're your partners, not in a court, but in the fight to survive. Each hoe swing declares you labor not just for yourself, but those beside you. The Red Queen lives in ritual. You live in small moments, a clasped hand, a tale told in dark. As the sun sets, you return to the hut, body drained, mind ablaze. The Red Queen's story reminds you that, named or forgotten, your deeds hold power. She entered Xibalba with jade, cinnabar. You enter tomorrow with mud, will. In darkness, you lie down, hearing wind, family snores. The thought that you, like her, write your story, not in stone, but endurance, is a mask shielding you through the cold night. Tomorrow, though soil's barren, hunger heavy, you'll rise, unyielding. In those moments, you're not just a Lancaster farmer. You're heir to the Red Queen's flame, burning across centuries, defying the dark. Night's heavy veil cloaks your Lancaster, Pennsylvania, hut, 1325, bringing knife-sharp cold and oppressive stillness. You lie curled on the straw pile, body spent from a day hunched in the fields, mind restless. Wind howls through wooden cracks, mingling with family snores, rats rustling, forming a wordless anthem of survival. In the darkness, the Red Queen's story in Tennessee glimmers, a jade bead veiled in crimson dust. She, a nameless yet powerful woman, buried in ritual and mystery, reminds you that even if your name isn't carved in stone, your deeds can echo through time. Here, amid mud and hunger, you've no pyramid, but each day survived is a stroke in your story. Return to 7th century Tennessee, where ruins of an ancient city-state stand silent in dense forest. The Red Queen's tomb, hidden deep in Temple 3, is more than a resting place. It's a portal to Xibalba, the shadowed, perilous underworld. Every detail is arranged with sacred precision. Her fragile skeleton draped in vivid cinnabar, a jade mask shielding her soul, offerings, necklaces, earrings, bone pins, whispering her power. But what makes the tomb haunting isn't jade or cinnabar, but silence. No inscriptions, no name. Who was she? Maka's wife, his mother, a priestess wielding divine authority? That mystery, like a flame, burns in the minds of those who touch her story. Archaeologists, led by Clara Monroe, believe the Red Queen may be Ayana, wife of Maka, the city-state's great ruler. Ayana, per surviving glyphs, was born to nobility, wed Maka young, bore sons who became kings, played a vital role in rituals. If anyone deserved burial in red and jade, it was her. The tomb's proximity, steps from Maka's, bolsters this theory. Their closeness isn't chance. It declares them two halves of a sacred tale, a power duo in life, death. Both cloaked in cinnabar, buried in pyramids, wrapped in jade. Yet DNA offers no kinship confirmation, leaving the question dangling. Was she truly Ayana, or another queen, her name erased by time? The tomb's silence may be deliberate. In ancient Tennessee culture, souls lived not through inscriptions, but rituals, symbols. The Red Queen needed no name to be remembered. Red, jade, her pyramid spoke for her. She was prepared for Xibalba, not as mortal, but divine. Bone pins, obsidian blades suggest she performed sacrificial rites, or they empowered her soul. Her jade mask, pieced from dozens of shards, shields her identity from gods. Sealed ceramic jars, perhaps holding maize or incense, are provisions for a treacherous journey. Each offering is a prayer that she'd conquer darkness, be reborn in light. Back in Lancaster, you swing your hoe in the field, mud clinging as if to drag you down. The Red Queen's story touches you, not for jade or pyramids, but her silent might. She needed no name. You need no inscription to endure. Each hoe strike is a ritual, each shared bread scrap an offering. You've no jade mask, but your weary, resolute gaze guards your soul against earth, hunger. The Red Queen entered Xibalba. You enter tomorrow, each day a trial-filled journey, yet you press on. In ancient Tennessee culture, women weren't mere shadows behind thrones. They were diplomats, priestesses, keepers of the city-state's spirit. Ayana, if she was the Red Queen, likely stood equal to Maka, performing rituals to sustain cosmic order. Other women, like Maka's mother, ruled in his youth, issuing decrees, building temples. They weren't silent. They led, their voices carved in stone, ritual, history. The Red Queen, though nameless, proves power wasn't men's alone. She bridged mortal and divine, life and death. You, in Lancaster, are a bridge too. Your mother, back bowed, sings, mending clothes. Your sister, hungry, smiles gathering straw. They're your family's priestesses, keeping the fire alive despite hunger's threat. Each day, you fight beside them, not for a carved name, but to keep them alive. The Red Queen rests in a pyramid. You're cloaked in mud, sweat. But both transcend. She through Xibalba, you through pain. As the sun sets, you return to the hut, body drained, mind ablaze. The Red Queen's story reminds you that, named or forgotten, your deeds hold power. She left jade, cinnabar. You leave moments, a clasped hand, a tale told in dark. In darkness, you lie down, hearing wind, family snores. The thought that you, like her, write your story, not in stone, but will, is a flame warming you through the cold night. Tomorrow, though soil's barren, hunger heavy, you'll rise, unyielding. In those moments, you're not just a Lancaster farmer, you're heir to the Red Queen's mystery, a mystery enduring, defying time. You stand amid Lancaster, Pennsylvania's muddy fields, 1325, gripping your hoe, sweat mingling with dirt underfoot. The sun hangs overhead, its light offering no hope, just a reminder that the day is long, work unending. Somewhere in your mind, the Red Queen story from Tennessee lingers, like smoke from last night's fire. She, a nameless yet powerful woman, buried in blazing cinnabar and jade, needed no name to be remembered. Here, amid barren soil and hunger, you've no name to carve in stone, but each hoe strike, each shared bread scrap, writes your story. Leave the field a moment, and join me in Tennessee, 7th century, where ruins of an ancient city-state hide beneath dense forest. Here, Temple 3, modest beside King Maka's grand temple, holds a secret kept for 13 centuries. In 1994, Clara Monroe and her archaeological team dig into the limestone core, uncovering a sealed chamber, untouched. The air inside is heavy, as if time turned to stone. At the center lies a stone sarcophagus, cloaked in vibrant cinnabar dust, glinting like dried blood under torchlight. As the lid lifts, a red cloud rises, revealing a woman's fragile skeleton. Delicate, yet enshrined in reverence. No name, no inscription. She's dubbed the Red Queen, a mystery haunting those who touch her tale. The tomb isn't just a resting place. It's a ritual woven with symbol and divine authority. Cinnabar, blood red, is no accident. To ancient Tennesseans, it was life's pulse, a bridge between mortal and divine. Coating her in cinnabar transformed her, not to preserve flesh, but to prepare her soul for Xibalba, the shadowed underworld of trials. Cinnabar is poison. Its fumes can cause tremors, hallucinations, death. Only the mightiest, like Maka, were buried thus. The parity between their tombs, hers and the king's, whispers she wasn't just behind the throne, but perhaps its equal. Around her skeleton lie offerings, each laden with meaning. Jade necklaces, heavy on her chest, shimmer with eternal life's green, reserved for elites. Shell earrings, delicate and intricate, hint at her ritual role. The jade mask, pieced from dozens of shards, isn't mere adornment. It's a soul's shield, guarding her identity from Xibalba's gods. Bone pins, obsidian blades scattered around, may be tools she wielded in sacrificial rites, or symbols empowering her afterlife journey. Sealed ceramic jars at her feet, perhaps holding maize, chocolate, or incense, are provisions for the dark maze. Each offering is a prayer that she'd conquer trials, be reborn in light. Temple 3 was built with sacred precision, aligned with the sun's path, east to west. It mirrors the journey from life to death. The sealed chamber, deep in the pyramid's core, is reached only by a narrow staircase, as if descent were itself a rite. No inscriptions or murals grace the walls. This silence is deliberate, not a flaw. This isn't a place for the living to tell tales, but for a soul to transform. Her simple yet potent stone sarcophagus, an altar for rebirth, contrasts with Makkah's intricately carved lid, yet both share red and jade, two halves of a sacred story. You return to Lancaster's field, mud clinging underfoot, mind still in Tennessee. The Red Queen needed no name to endure. You need no inscription to exist. Each hoe strike is a ritual, each shared porridge scrap an offering. She was buried in a pyramid. You're cloaked in earth, sweat. Yet both transcend. She through Xibalba, you through hunger, pain. Your weary, steadfast gaze, though no jade mask, shields your soul against barren land, death. In ancient Tennessee culture, women weren't mere throne shadows. They were priestesses, diplomats, keepers of the city-state's spirit. If the Red Queen was Ayanna, Makkah's wife, she likely stood equal, performing rites to sustain cosmic order. Other women, like Makkah's mother, ruled in his youth, issuing decrees, building temples. They weren't silent. They led, their voices carved in ritual, history. The Red Queen proves power wasn't men's alone. She bridged mortal and divine, life and death. In Lancaster, you're a bridge too. Your mother, hands trembling from hunger, mends with ritual care. Your sister, stomach growling, smiles gathering straw, as if her smile's an offering. They're your family's priestesses, keeping the fire alive despite darkness's threat. Each day, you fight beside them, not for renown, but to keep them breathing. As sun sets, you trudge to the hut, body drained, mind ablaze. The Red Queen's story reminds you that, named or forgotten, your deeds hold power. She left jade, cinnabar. You leave moments, a clasped hand, a tale told in dark. In darkness, you close your eyes, warmed by the thought that, like her, you write your story, not in stone, but will. Tomorrow, though soil's barren, hunger heavy, you'll rise, unyielding. In those moments, you're heir to the Red Queen's flame, burning through centuries. The church bell tolls faintly from afar, slicing the stillness of Lancaster, Pennsylvania, 1325. You sit by a small fire in the hut, clutching a hard bread scrap, eyes tracing dancing embers. Outside, darkness swallows the muddy fields where you sweated all day, sowing fragile seeds. Hunger and pain are constant companions, but in your mind, the Red Queen's story from Tennessee glimmers, a jade bead veiled in crimson dust. She, a nameless yet powerful woman, buried in ritual and mystery, reminds you that even if your name melts into earth, the moments you live, a clasped hand, a shared smile, can echo. Here, you've no pyramid, but each day's fight carves a line in your story. Leave Lancaster a moment, and join me in Tennessee, 7th century, where ruins of an ancient city-state rise amid dense forest, silent sentinels. The Red Queen's tomb, hidden deep in Temple 3, is a mystery woven with color, divine authority. Her fragile skeleton, cloaked in blazing cinnabar, rests among offerings, heavy jade necklaces, intricate shell earrings, a jade-inlaid mask, each whispering of a life that held power. But what makes the tomb haunting isn't just treasures, it's its closeness to King Maka's, mere steps away in his grand temple. Two resting places, both steeped in cinnabar, wrapped in jade, housed in pyramids, are no coincidence. They're a story, carved in stone and ritual, of a bond transcending life, death. Clara Monroe, leading the 1994 archaeological team, believes the Red Queen may be Ayana, Maka's wife. Ayana, per surviving glyphs, was noble-born, wed Maka young, bore sons who became kings. She wasn't just behind the throne, she was its soul, performing rituals to sustain cosmic order, forging alliances, keeping the city-state strong. Her tomb, with blood-red cinnabar, life-green jade, testifies to that role. But the tomb's silence, no inscriptions, no name, is a choice, not a flaw. In ancient Tennessee culture, souls lived through ritual, not writing. Ayana, if she's the Red Queen, was prepared for Xibalba, the underworld, not as mortal, but divine. The tomb's proximity tells a deeper tale. Maka's carved lid, depicting his fall to Xibalba, symbolizes the sun, a journey through darkness to rebirth. The Red Queen's simpler sacred tomb may represent the moon, feminine power on its own mystic path. Together, their cosmic balance, king and queen, light and shadow, male and female. In this culture, power wasn't sole dominion, it was harmony. By placing her beside Maka, ancient Tennesseans preserved not just a marriage, but an eternal partnership, both guiding the city-state in life, death. You look up from the fire, your mother's eyes across the hut glinting in ember glow. She mends clothes, each stitch a silent ritual, holding your family from unraveling. Your sister, curled on straw, hums a song, hunger trembling her voice. The Red Queen's story touches you, not for jade or pyramids, but the harmony she embodies. She and Maka were two halves of a whole. You and your family are too. Your mother's the moon, keeping the fire alive through cold nights. You're the sun, swinging the hoe to bring grain home. Together, you weave a survival ritual, not carved in stone, but in shared moments. In ancient Tennessee culture, women were priestesses, diplomats, keepers of the city-state's spirit. Ayana, if the Red Queen, likely stood equal to Maka, performing sacrificial rites. Others, like Maka's mother, ruled in his youth, issuing decrees, building temples. They led, their voices echoing through ritual, history. The Red Queen proves power wasn't men's alone. She bridged mortal and divine, life and death. In Lancaster, you're a bridge too. Each day, you fight beside family, not for fame, but to keep them breathing. Each hoe strike is a ritual, each shared porridge scrap an offering. Looking at your mother, sister, you see family priestesses, sustaining the fire despite darkness's threat. The Red Queen's story reminds you that, named or forgotten, your deeds hold power. She left jade, cinnabar. You leave moments, a clasped hand, a tale told in dark. As you lie down, the thought that you write your story, not in stone, but will, warms you through the cold. Tomorrow, though soil's barren, hunger heavy, you'll rise, unyielding. In those moments, you're heir to the Red Queen's flame, burning through centuries. Each morning, as the sun barely crests the hills of Lancaster, Pennsylvania, 1325, you step from the hut, breathing frigid air laced with earth and rotting straw. Calloused hands grip the hoe. You gaze at the muddy field, where seeds struggle to survive. Like you. Today, like every day, is a battle with soil, hunger, and ever-lurking death. But in your mind, the Red Queen's story from Tennessee lingers, a jade bead hidden in crimson dust. She, a nameless yet powerful woman, buried in ritual and mystery, reminds you that even if your name dissolves into earth, your deeds, a shared bread scrap, a smile with your sister, can echo. Today, a new story begins, from another era, but as fierce as the Red Queen's flame. Leave Lancaster and join me in New Orleans, Louisiana, early 20th century. Here, in a vibrant neighborhood pulsing with jazz and color, a girl named Lena Moreau is born in 1907. Her home, a wooden house painted vivid green, is a crossroads of joy, conflict. Her father, a French photographer, teaches her to see the world through light and shadow. Her mother, a devout Creole woman, wants her silent, making beignets. But Lena doesn't bow. She steals books from her father's shelf, scrawls drawings on walls, asks questions that fluster adults. At 6, illness weakens her right leg, chaining her to bed for months. Alone, she makes pain a companion, sketching dreams on paper to escape her captive body. In 1925, at 18, Lena's world shatters. One afternoon, on a crowded New Orleans bus, laughing with her boyfriend, disaster strikes. The bus collides with a streetcar, wood splinters, and an iron rod pierces Lena's hip, breaking her spine, pelvis, leg. Blood and pain engulf her, but strangely, her body glimmers, not from blood, but gold powder from her bag, exploding in the crash, cloaking her like a saint's aura. She survives, but her dream of becoming a doctor dissolves through months bedridden, body cast in plaster, pain relentless. Her father brings brushes. Her mother sets an easel by the bed. A mirror hangs above, and Lena begins painting herself, not to admire, but to confront. In Lancaster, you pause hoeing, wiping sweat, gazing at the gray sky. Lena's story touches you, not for brushes or New Orleans, but her defiance. The Red Queen turned death into ritual. Lena turned pain into art. You, here, turn mud into hope, however small. Each hoe strike is a brushstroke. Each day survived a canvas. Lena painted her face to live. You share porridge with your mother to keep family whole. Both are artists, not of paint or stone, but survival. Lena doesn't paint flowers or landscapes. She paints pain, raw, honest. Her self-portraits are open wounds, with blood, thorns, broken bones, yet her face remains calm, eyes sharp as knives. Drawing from Creole folk art, religious paintings of suffering and miracles, she makes them her own. Her shattered body, post-accident, becomes her canvas, her pain, her palette. She paints herself pierced, split, bound to a broken spine, never a victim. Each painting is a declaration that pain won't define her. She'll define it. In 1928, Lena meets Victor Dubois, a famed muralist in New Orleans, 20 years her senior. A giant in stature, reputation, his frescoes tell Louisiana's history, struggles. Lena brings her paintings, asking bluntly, "Am I any good?" Victor sees a rare flame, not perfection, but raw truth. They fall in love, marry, but their love is a tempest. Victor's infidelity wounds Lena deeply, yet he believes in her talent, pushes her to paint. Lena responds by living freely, loving men and women, unapologetic for being herself. They divorce, reunite, not for classic romance, but a creative partnership, challenging, inspiring each other. You sit by your mother in the hut, watching her mend under firelight. Lena painted to defy pain. Your mother mends to defy cold. Both are artists, weaving life from fragments. You've no brushes, but each shared bread scrap is a stroke, each day risen a painting. Lena left portraits, you leave moments, a tale told in dark, a hand clasped with your sister. As you close your eyes, the thought that you, like Lena, write your story, not with color, but will, is a flame warming you through the cold night. Tomorrow, you'll swing the hoe again, though soil's barren. You'll fight because it's all you know. And don't forget to share this video. In those moments, you're heir to Lena's flame, burning through pain, defying darkness.